Deep here from Stalwart Learning. I welcome you all to our Stalwart Learning webinar on project management concepts. So I think we can get started. So we have Ashok with us, who is going to be taking the today's session. Over to you, sir. You can probably start off the session by giving an introduction about yourself, and then maybe we can dive into the session.
Okay, great. Thanks, Anudeep. So, guys, I can see 77 people have logged in, including myself. So, just a quick check. How many of you are working currently as project managers? Just raise your virtual hand to show if you're working as a project manager currently. Yes, I could see four, five, six. Yes, go ahead. Okay, so I could see 7 of you. Okay, great. So, guys, today we would discuss this profession of project management. You can lower your hands. You can lower your virtual hand. I could see there are 9 to 10 people who are currently working as project managers. So I would presume there are another 70 of you who are planning to aspire to become project managers, right? So let me just share a screen with all of you. Just to give me a moment. Yeah, can you see my screen? Somebody say yes.
Yep.
Yes,
Yes,
I
sir,
can
we
see.
can.
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So let me just enlarge it. Yes. So this webinar is completely focused on learning the importance of project management and how this skill of project manager can really help you move forward in your career, right? Giving you a quick brief about myself. My name is Ashok Goyal, and by qualification, I'm a BTech from NIT and an MBA from Schulich Business School in Canada, which has a exchange program with IIM Bangalore as well. And I have worked almost for 2 decades in various organizations, including Price Waterhouse Coopers, HCL, Wipro, Dell, and IBM as well. And I'm a trainer for project management, and I have been doing it for quite some time. Many places I have delivered this training program, including Accenture, Dell, Asian Brown Boveri, ENY, KPMG, and many other places. And this program has been found to be very, very useful and brings a lot of a good return on investment of time and money both for participants, right? Incidentally, last few years, I have also become an executive coach where I help corporate professionals how they can move up faster in their corporate ladder, how they can multiply their growth. You must have noticed that some people move up faster in their journey in an organization. They become quickly, senior managers, directors, VPs, and so on. So this book that I have written, Move Up the Corporate Ladder, is focused towards how you can put together a system and move up faster. Okay, we'll move on. So guys, we will follow the basic hygiene and I want you all to listen to this webinar, keeping in mind that as an observer, as a player, not as an observer. And what it means is put yourself in the shoes of a project manager, and then listen to the entire conversation of an hour and a half, right? And not just look at this entire thing as you are watching a television show. It will not help them, right? Since so many of you are aspiring project managers and you plan to get into the profession of project management, right? And if you have any questions, keep your questions towards the discussion in the end. If we take up the questions in the middle, it might disturb the overall flow. So what I request all of you is to keep all the questions towards the end. And I would give you logical pauses as I keep moving forward. In those short instances, you can put together your questions by raising a virtual hand. Okay, let me just move forward. So this webinar is useful for anyone who is currently working as a project manager or anyone who aspires to become a project manager in the future, right? If you are someone who is 8, 10, 12 years old and you are working as a project manager, still this webinar is very, very useful because we are going to speak about the PMP certification. This certification is very, very popular across the world, and almost all parts of the world this works, except in certain part of Northern Europe, where some organizations they they would adhere to Prince 2 certification, which is a similar one but a different one. Their framework is very different. In this webinar, we would primarily focus on PMP certification from PMI. Yeah. So all professionals who are currently working as project managers and those who are planning to become one, and including those who are currently working as team members, team leaders, right? You might be 6 months old in the organization, maybe 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, and so on, right? You would get to know a lot of details about how you can become a successful project manager in this webinar. So some of you might be asking this question, why should I do this certification, right? You would be investing, let's say, 3 to 4 months of your career in acquiring the certification, in going through the training program, and then putting together some time, about let's say 2 months, to study and prepare of your own for this certification exam, and then taking the exam as well, right? So you might be having this question, what are the benefits that I'm going to get by doing this certification? First benefit is this certification carries a global recognition. You would be recognized by all organizations globally that you carry a certain level of proficiency in working as a project manager, right? You may be coming from whatever background. Most of you would be engineers, I would guess, right? Some of you might be coming from a non-engineering background as well, like MCA, or some people come from BSc background, statistics background, and so on. And all that is okay. Whatever background you come from, once you have worked for a couple of years in the organization, let's say 4 or 5 years, and then once you have acquired this certification, then you would be someone who is carrying a global recognition, skills which could be recognized by all organizations in the world. So that is one. Second thing you would notice that your knowledge about the profession in project management that has gone to a different level. Your confidence to be able to understand a concern, understand an issue, your ability to take decisions about projects, right? All of this will go to the next level. You would be able to demonstrate your skills as a project manager. You can handle large projects. I'm sorry. If let's say I understand some of you are working as a project manager. If you're handling, let's say, a project of half $1 million, excuse me, if currently you're working as a project manager and managing, let's say, $500,000 project, after this certification, you will feel far more confident and you can handle a project for $10 million, maybe $20 million or $50 million, and so on, right? So your ability to handle larger teams, larger budget projects, larger clients environment, multiple organizations working together, all of these complications in project management you can handle with a lot more comfort, and that would happen once you have gone through the PMI framework. The PMP certification brings an additional credibility to your skills, right? And that would not only increase your credibility in the marketplace, people would be able to trust you as a capable project manager, your own employer, your rest of the team members, your clients' team members, your vendors' team members. All of these people will confide more in you, as a successful project manager, someone who can be trusted upon with a significantly large projects. I'm sure you understand that project managers, they take many decisions in the interest of the project, right? So you might be driving certain amount of project budget on your head, and the project organization is trusting you, your abilities, and giving you a responsibility to drive a project. All of that goes to a different level after you complete this certification in project management. And of course, once your abilities go to the next level, people are able to trust you more. Your credibility commands a different level of prospect and respect. Your compensation goes up. Frequently, I have seen people increase their compensation levels from 30% to 150%, right? Across organizations. It could be MNCs, it could be Indian tech organizations, or it could be outside India, typical. And it doesn't have to be an IT organizations only. It could be construction companies, it could be automotive, manufacturing, oil and gas, pharma. All of these industries need multiple project managers. And another major advantage that you get is this project management skills could be useful across industries. So what you have learned in the IT organization can be useful for automotive organization as well, could be used for pharma organization as well. So this comes as an additional benefit of being in this profession. You might be interested to know if I'm eligible to appear in the PMP certification exam. As per the PMI mandate, you should be having 3 years or more experience as in some work in project management, not necessarily as a project manager. For example, if you are in software development industry, you might be working as a software engineer, you might be working as a team leader or as an architect, or you might be in the connected maybe a pre-sales kind of role, and that could also qualify for this exam. But your experience should be about more than 3 years. More than 3 years is surely more than 4,500 hours as PMI has mandated. But this is for someone who has spent 16 years of their lives in a degree college. I mean, in BTech, typically people do 10 plus 2 and then plus 4. So all engineers are eligible with 3 years plus experience. If you are not an engineer, then you would need 5 years experience, right? Typically, in 1 year, you have 1800 hours, right? After deducting all the leaves, you have 1800 to 2000 hours. So you would need, 5 years plus experience to be able to take this exam. If you are not an engineer, if you do not have 16 years of formal education, right? But then, this exam gives you all the abilities and the opportunities to graduate after this. I mean, more than 3 years are always welcome, and minimum so much of experience is required to be able to appreciate and understand the project management processes. You might ask, that what are the outcomes of this training program? What is that I will learn in this, project management professional certification training course? You would learn how to understand a project charter. You would understand how to handle the kickoff meetings. All of these topics are quite deep in itself. We would not spend a lot of time in discussing since our time is limited. I have decided to discuss a couple of other topics, all of you. So all of these things which are mentioned on the screen that you would learn in the certification training. What do we mean by a project charter? How do we develop a project scope statement, right? How do you handle the stakeholders? Stakeholders are defined as those people who are impacting the project positively or negatively. Or in other sense, all the team members, clients team members, vendors team members, all of them by virtue of the definition of stakeholders, they are a part of the project and they are impacting the project. How do you develop a work breakdown structure, right? How do you discuss the work estimates in a project, right? All of these things you would be able to handle very comfortably after the completion of the training program. This certification training program also equips you to handle the PMP certification exam, actual exam. This exam you need to take after registering yourself with the PMI, and once you have registered, you can understand the PMI curriculum, the framework. They have suggested a book called Project Management Body of Knowledge, and you would be able to understand the framework. You will be able to appreciate the questions and answers which are likely to get asked in the exam, right? And this certification 4 days of training program would allow you to become comfortable in the framework and would allow you to go deeper when you go through this book, right? And take up some of the mock questions, right? And deepen your understanding about the framework. So this 4 days of training program would help you to understand the concept and also make you ready to take the exam. So let's spend a minute or two in understanding what is the overall course content of the PMP certification exam, right? So this entire course content has been structured in the form of 5 important lessons. These 5 important lessons. The first one speaks about how do you create a high performing team. We understand as a manager, since all of you are planning to become project managers, right? As a manager, you are as good as your team, right? So if you want to be successful in your project, you have to have a team which is high performing team. High performing team would mean a team which is purposeful, which is productive, which understands the overall framework and which can create the results, right? So we will go through various aspects of how you can train your team, how you should create some of the structures within the team environment so that the team is able to achieve their goals, their individual goals and their collective team goals, right? Second chapter, second lesson, we speak about how do you plan for a project? How do you start a project? Now we understand that planning is a very significant aspect of the project. If you have done a good planning, your execution becomes a cakewalk, right? So if you have spent a good amount of time and you have done rigorous planning, then your execution becomes all that easier. And the primary reason for that is, you would have taken into consideration various practical aspects of project planning. In this lesson, you would create project plan, and within the project plan, you have the project charter, project scope document, project resource management, project budget, project schedule. Then you have project risk management, communications management, procurement management, and stakeholders management, and so on. All of these are the pieces of the project put together. You create a document called project plan, right? So outcome of this phase, this lesson is creating a project plan. And once you have the project plan, you need to execute the plan, which is doing the work. Lesson 3 speaks about how do you execute the plan, right? So your responsibility in execution would be to, just keep following the plan, step by step, right? It sounds simpler, but you would be able to figure out that when you are executing the plan, you would not be able to execute exactly as per the plan, right? In practice, you would notice that things are going out of the plan. Everything would not go as per the planned track. You might be over budget, you might be crossing your schedule, you would notice that some people are underproductive and you have not been able to deliver the work in time, right? So as you are executing the plan, you would also uh, making sure that you are tracking the plan, and that is what we would speak about in lesson 4. You would make sure that the team is on a track, team is on planned budget, and the team is on planned schedule. And for some reason, if they are not able to be on the plan, then you'll have to create a change request. You'll have to follow a change management process to bring the entire team on the plan. On the plan, that would mean on the revised plan. Let's say you have decided that your project budget is, let's say, $1 million, right? And it's a 1 year project. And after 3 months of the project, you find that you need 20% more money. 20% of $1 million is a lot of money, right? $200,000. And your client will not give you 20% more money just like that. They would like to be doubly sure why do you need this money, right? And they want that if you need 20% more money, you have to come up with all the validations, the reasons why do you need $200,000 more. Why did not you plan for it earlier? What did not go right in your plan? And how do you make sure that if you get 20% more money now, you will not ask for another 30% more money later, right? How do you handle all of these complications? How do you handle the project plan? How do you handle the execution? How do you update the team? How do you update the vendors, the clients, the SMEs, the project teams, and so on? All of these are a part of the change control management, right? And lesson 5 speaks about the compliances, right? We understand the project has to be delivered keeping in mind certain important compliances. Compliances could be your business compliances, environmental compliances, safety compliances, quality compliances, right? And so on. See, just doing a project is not enough. You have to keep in mind that most industries they have certain norms to be followed. For example, if you're doing a project in oil and gas industry, you have to follow certain norms of the industry. They have certain frameworks to be followed, right? They have certain health and safety compliance, hazardous compliance, and the fire related compliances, and so on, right? And so is true for software development as well. You have the CMMI framework that has to be followed, right? If you are doing a project for automotive industry, they have their own frameworks to be followed, right? So in lesson 5, we would speak about how do we make sure that you are not just delivering a project, without keeping in mind the other aspects of the industry. You are well conversed with all of these different frameworks needed in the industry, and you are delivering the project keeping in mind all of those constraints. So guys, this was a brief about basic aspects of the certification exam. At this point of time, I would like to pick up a couple of questions. So raise your virtual hand if you have any question. I would just take some questions, not all. Yes, go ahead, guys. Raise your virtual hand if you have any questions. Okay, first question let's take from Imtiaz. Imtiaz, if you have any question, please switch on your video and then you can go ahead and ask questions. Yeah, Imtiaz, go ahead, please.
Yeah, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you, please.
Yeah, in the qualification criteria which you had explained on 3 years and 5 years.
Yeah.
So how does the PMI decides, like if you, on what basis they decide? Just producing experience certificate is okay, or how they will decide?
Yeah. So when you fill up the application form, you give your all details, right?
Right.
And you are expected to give all the details which are absolutely true, right? Because what they do is they can pick up some applications for audit. And for
Okay.
example, out of 10,000 applications, they might choose, let's say, 20 applications for audit, right?
Mm.
And when they pick up an application for audit, then they would go ahead each and every detail that you have provided in your application. They might call your manager, they might call your previous employer and just check whether this person was working in the organization. They will
I see.
not normally get into too much of detail. They just want to make sure that whatever details you have provided, those are true and authentic.
Okay, so that would be basically after getting the the number of hours which has to be learned. So that particular form request at the time of filing that form, do we need to make the payment at that time or after getting the confirmation on the information which has been provided to a PMI? After that, we have to do. What is the process
Correct.
for that?
Correct. After you have filled up the form, they take about 3 to 5 days to validate your form.
Okay.
And most students get validated, and then you can go ahead and schedule your exam. When you are scheduling for the exam, that is the time when you have to make the 550 USD of exam fee.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll take one more question if anybody has. If anybody has any more questions, please go ahead. Okay, looks like everybody is pretty comfortable. Uh, Let me just move forward. A quick question, Anudeep. How long is the webinar?
I think we can work till 1 o'clock.
Till 1 o'clock. So another 50 minutes kind of, right?
Right. Yes,
Okay,
that's
great. So guys, I'm going to discuss, some of the topics which are normally taught in the PMP certification exam. And if somebody wants to make notes, you are most welcome to do that. Now, understand that the environment around us that is not static, right? The world in which we live, uh, you know, that is not static. There will be changes in the geography, changes in the customer requirements, and so on. And this can give rise to many projects, right? Projects happen because of the changes in the environment. Projects happen because of globalization, which is an in thing in the world, right? Projects happen because of the expansion needs of the organizations. All organizations, whether a small organization or a big organization, all of them want to grow. Think of a large organization like IBM. IBM has annual turnover of, I think, more than $100 billion, right? So $100 billion is, of course, is a very big revenue, and every year they want to grow. Let's say they want to grow in this financial year by 20%. 20% of $100 billion is another $20 billion. So organization wants to make another $20 billion in this financial year. And how can they make money? They can make money by selling more products and services, right? Maybe to the existing markets or to the newer markets, newer customers, right? They might be expanding. So for all of these, for making this extra $20 billion, they would be floating many new projects. New projects in the countries where they have existing markets or countries where they want to develop newer markets. And that gives rise to a need for project management. Project management is required wherever there are projects, right? The customer profile, the customer requirements are changing all the time, right? You might have seen how the customer needs for the same product, very similar kind of product, how it has been changing over a period of time. The kind of cars which used to be there in the world, let's say 10 years back, now the cars are coming with very different looks and capabilities and so on. Now all of these would give rise to many new design projects and so on, right? And so is true for all the industries. So project management is very live kind of requirements, and that would keep happening, in the industries. So a lot of projects might come because of the human aspirations, right? A lot of large monuments. It could be, let's say, Burj Khalifa kind of monument, or it could be a Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel kind of monument in Gujarat, or it could be newer products, new researches, right? Better quality of products, and so on. All of these will give rise to many, many, many new projects. And whenever you have projects, you would need so much more project managers, right? We understand that in a typical project, you have clients team members, you have your own project team members, and you have vendors team members. Think of a large project like a metro, like a railway metro project. In all cities, we have metro projects, right? In Delhi Metro or Bangalore Metro or Chennai Metro, right? So you can imagine for such large projects, you would have many different vendors, right? There will be a client's team. Here, the client would be the government who are investing the money. Then there will be project team members, the primary project team, which has been awarded to execute this project. And there will be many, many different vendors. There will be electrical vendor, there will be plumbing team member, vendor, there will be excavation vendor, and so on. You can easily expect 30 to 40 different vendors in such large projects. Now, when there are so many teams working together, you can understand you need a humongous amount of coordination for these teams to work together. And that is possible when there is a common framework in project management, right? This framework allows these different disparate teams to work together. A common set of processes, common set of methodologies, common set of documentation, and so on. And when you have this common framework for project team members to understand the entire work of project management, all of these benefits which are mentioned in the screen, those benefits would happen, right? Better control on financial resources, people resources, improved customer relations, right? Profit margins, increased profit margins. You can understand what could be the budget of a metro? Easily several billions of dollars, right? Even if it's, let's say, $5 billion. I'm not going taking up very large metro programs, but let's say $5 billion, right? Even 1% of $5 billion could be a huge number. $5 billion means $5,000 million, right? 1% of $5,000 million is $50 million, which is a lot of money. We understand if we follow a common framework for project management, it could result in huge amount of savings for the client's team, for the project team, for multiple vendors team, etc. And that would result in much better quality, much better reliability, productivity, and most importantly, the morale of the people who are working. They're able to see a direction, right? They're able to see a sense of progress in the project, project management, and so on. So a formal project management framework is very, very useful, and that is where you would see the need for a PMP project management framework. Just to give you a quick idea, PMI defines a project as an endeavor, project as an effort which is temporary in nature, which has a definite beginning and which has a definite end, right? Definite beginning and end would mean you would say my project started, let's say, on 1st of Jan 2023, and it is going to end on 31st of December 2023, right? So it has a definite beginning and end. It's a 12 months duration project, right? And every project is unique in its nature. Every project gives rise to a unique product or a service or a result, right? And that is what makes it even more interesting. And we understand project brings change, project brings growth in organizations, and brings change in the external world. So when we think of project management is nothing but all of these 5 steps followed methodically. You initiate a project, you plan for a project, you execute a project, you monitor and control, and you close eventually. So what do you do in the initiating of the project? You figure out whether your project is really feasible. For example, let's say it's a house construction project, right? In the house construction project, the client's team members or the family which is investing the, let's say, a house construction project, the project size is 2 crores, right? The family which is investing this money for the house construction, they are going to contemplate whether they should put this money in the house construction or they should put this money in certain investment, maybe certain stocks or bonds or FD, right? So in the initiating phase, they would take a decision whether they should deliver this project or they should invest money in this project or not. And let's say they decide that they should invest money in this project, and they would issue a document called project charter. Project charter is a document that would mention, that would give some details about the project. In this case, they would speak about, let's say it's a 4 BHK house construction in 5,000 square feet of land in Bangalore with an investment of 2 crores and with an approximate time duration of 12 months, right? So all of these details would be mentioned in the project charter document, and that would be end of the initiating phase, right? Project manager would get selected in the end of the initiating phase, or if for some reason if the relevant project manager is not found, then project manager must be ready for in the beginning of the planning phase, right? In the planning phase, the project manager and the team members who are then available, they would take all the necessary details from the client's team. If it's a house construction, the project team would meet various clients' team members called stakeholders. They would meet clients' important key stakeholders, right, and understand the requirements about the house construction, right. It could be the size of the rooms, the layout of the rooms, what should be laid out where should be the kitchen area, where should be the house lobby, where should be the parking, where should be the garden, and all of that, right. And that process is called requirement collection. Once they collect all the requirements, once the project team collects all the requirements, project team is headed by the project manager, right? They would create a scope document, project scope, and then they would create the rest of the project plan. And that would include the project scope document, project schedule, project budget, project resources management, project quality, project risk document, project stakeholders document, project communications, project uh, procurement, and so on. All of these documents are put together in the project plan, and that would be end of the planning phase. Once you complete the project plan, then you start executing the plan as mentioned in the project plan, right? As I mentioned earlier, executing becomes a lot more easy if your plan is prepared well, right? And when you are executing the plan, you would notice that your plan would not always be on track, right? Because of the practical issues. The plan does not get executed exactly because of the practical concerns. Sometimes you would feel, you would find that the material may not be available, people may not be available, people may not be as productive as you thought about. You thought that this activity can be done by 5 people in 7 days, but practically you found that 5 people have not been able to complete this activity even in 10 days, right? And then you would need some jig-jag around the plan, and that is called monitoring and controlling. Controlling is in case you want to create a change request. Uh, there is a significant difference between the plan and the actual circumstances. Then you have to create change request and get more money or get more time and whatever changes you are expecting in the overall plan, right? And eventually This is how you would complete the rest of the project. Towards the end of the project, towards the end of the execution, you would make sure that your all the deliverables are accepted by the client's team, and you would be able to formally close the project by ensuring that you have archived all the documents, you have completed all the vendor payments, and then you would close the project contract formally. And this is the complete project management that you would be learning in the certification program. The framework that you would be learning would help you to understand various nuances involved in the project management. Now, what I have discussed about is the 2 crore project, which is maybe your house construction. But this project, framework could be expanded for a 100 crore project, or a 200 crore, or a 2000 crore project, right? The entire framework could be expanded as large as you want. So we understand that creating a project and delivering a project, and making sure that project outcomes are created, project manager is involved from the beginning to the end, right? Entire project remains a project manager's baby from the beginning to the end, right? Project manager remains accountable for various aspects of project plan and project management, right? But in spite of all of this, you would notice that you might be accountable as a project manager, but many things might happen in the project which may not be in your control, right? Maybe let's say some certain people are not available. Some people might get attritioned in your project, right? And then in those circumstances, how do you handle a project, right? And you might be losing credibility many times. And that is what we would learn in the entire curriculum as a project manager, right? You may not be directly accountable for making a project delay, but still you are answerable. You are answerable to the stakeholders. You want to make sure that you enjoy a great credibility, right? Whether your project is doing right or not, whether your project is green or not, but as a project manager, you always enjoy the reputation of being in green, right? Your reputation is not tarnished if you even if your project is not doing well, and this is an ability. This you would acquire over a period of time, right? Making sure that you handle the documentation, you handle the stakeholders well, you make sure that you handle your project and the vendors well, and so on. Okay, I could see some people raising hands, so I could take up 1 or 2 questions here. If anybody has any questions, you can ask. Yes, I can see Mohan Nair. Mohan, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at the other screenshot which you mentioned, so there are the 5 stages. So
Yeah.
initially you came up with a budget of 2 crore something for that example. So how are
Yeah.
you going to estimate that cost? Because I believe like that estimation should also be a important aspect here. On what factors are we going to estimate it? Because we don't know what we are going to. We know the outcome, but what is the number of hours? What is the number of resources we are going to include? What are the other things which we need to consider? So we are not much aware of these things. So how are we going to come up with an estimation by foreseeing these things?
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks, Mohan. It's a very good question. Project estimation is a part of the project planning, right? If you are somebody who has actually worked in the construction, let's say in the industry for, let's say, 5, 6, 7 years, you would know with a very close approximation that you would need so much of time, right? For example, if let's say there's a wall to be constructed, right? If you have spent some few years, 4, 5, 6 years of time, you would know that this wall construction of this size and so much of width would require 10 people for 15 days. So I'm just throwing it up, right? And you, instead of 15 days, you might need 16 days, 17 days. But with a close approximation of 10 to 20%, you would know for sure. And this is how you would estimate the entire project. And whether this estimation might be required for software development, construction project, or an automotive design, or anything else. So people who have worked in the industry, by virtue of their experience, they would have a very close understanding of this approximation. Mohan, did I answer your question?
Kind of, but when you're like working on a long-term project,
Yes.
so how does
So,
that work there?
so it is, you would not be able to predict exactly. It would need so much. But if you have worked in the industry, for example, if I can ask you, Mohan, which industry you have worked in?
IT,
IT, within IT,
software
what?
development.
Software development. So in software development, when you collect the requirements, when you take the requirements from the client, right? By in software development, you use a method for predicting the time. I'm sure you would be aware of the FPA, function point analysis. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, function point analysis makes certain assumptions, right? You create a framework, and when you input that framework in the entire analysis, you arrive at the approximate effort which is required for creating this application. And this effort is again approximate. For example, if this effort says that you would need 20 people for 6 months, right?
Mhm.
You would need a 20 people, or which is 120 person months. Now, you might need little more or little less, but approximately your approximation would work. Is that right, Mohan?
Okay.
Yeah. So similarly, in different industries, you would have approximation templates. You call them estimation templates. And these templates are nothing but collection of the data of the previous projects. Similarly, FPA is nothing but collection of similar data acquired from the previous experiences of your own organization and the industry of last 30, 40, 50 years we have spent in developing applications, right? With the best of the approximation, you would be able to figure out how much time and the effort it would require to develop this application.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. And over a period of time, you will fine tune your abilities of approximation as you become more and more experienced, and as you have more and more experienced people in your team, in the project management team. Okay, any other question, guys? We can take one more question. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pratima, go ahead, please.
Hi Ashok. I
Hi.
just wanted to ask, do you advocate that if you are doing a PhD certification, you stay in the same industry or you can change the industry? Is it required to be, because as you mentioned that you come with your experience and you do the estimation of time or budget in while you do planning. So do you advocate that industry knowledge is essential for a project management, proper project managing the project?
Yeah. So answer is not that I want people should change the industry, but I have seen practically many people. Let's say you have worked in automotive industry for 5 years, right? And you might have handled some projects there. And tomorrow you decide to join Infosys, right? A lot of such people are required in software development as well, where you can work on automotive related software development projects. You might not have experience of the software industry, but then whatever project management skills that you are carrying from your previous work experience are useful. Now, right in the beginning, once you join the software development industry, in the beginning, you may not become a project manager. You may become, let's say, an assistant project manager. You might be assisting the project manager who is working in the software development projects, and you can bring your own skills, right? You need to spend, let's say, I have seen people doing some 3 to 4 years in the industry as an assistant project manager or project coordinator, or something like that. And once you acquire the skills in the software development, and then you can become an effective project manager. right? So it is possible, but then you need to learn the skills which are needed for being an effective project manager. Did I answer your
Understood.
question, Pratima?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, many
Thank
people
you.
do that. I have seen people from manufacturing, automotive, pharma. Since software development industry has exploded and had a lot of requirements of project managers. So I have seen people working in various organizations, including Wipro, TCS, Infosys, and many other organizations, coming from various industries and bringing their maturity and understanding of project management skills of that industry, and then learning the nuances of the software development, and then becoming useful in the newer organization.
Thank you, Ashok.
Yes. Okay. Looks like we can take more questions as we move forward. Okay, every project would have certain constraints, right? These constraints could be with regard to the project scope, project time, project budget, right? If we take the same example of, let's say, house construction, the client would want the house to be constructed as per the scope. It could be a simple 4 BHK house, right, with a budget of 2 crores and with a schedule duration of, let's say, 12 months, right? And the client would expect that a certain kind of quality should be adhered when you are working on the project. And the project managers are also expected to manage their risk, project risk, right? And manage the project resources. Project resources could be the materials and the people, right? These resources should be utilized optimally. Project managers are given the responsibility of managing these resources in the best possible way, which is saving money and keeping in mind the safety and the other norms needed for the organization. Right now, many times you would notice that a project manager might have plenty of time, but doesn't the project doesn't have enough money. If or a project might have more money. I mean, you could extend the project budget, but then you have to make sure there is no additional time available, right? So as a project manager, you might not choose to give preference to one over the other. These things might vary from project to project, right? Depending on the client's requirements, you might choose to be giving an extra time or extra budget and so on, right? So as a project manager, we have to ensure that we are balancing these competing constraints, just like an orchestra. We are managing these things in the best possible way, which is in the best interest of the project and the interest of the clients. Let me share one important, framework. So what you can see on the screen is called a talent triangle. Talent triangle, and this speaks about what should be an ideal skill set that a project manager has. Right? You would have noticed that project manager has to handle the budget, has to handle people, has to handle the project risk and project procurement and so on. And these are very disparate skills, right? People spend lifetime in managing large budgets, large amount of project budget, right? Or managing a huge amount of people, right? Or managing procurement, managing risk, and so on. A project manager cannot be an expert in each of these areas, right? Even if the project manager is not an expert, still the project manager is given the responsibility to own the project, right? And make sure that all of these aspects of the project are nicely woven together, and still the project outcomes can be created. So a lot of times there has been a debate on what should be the ideal skill set that a project manager should have, right? And now PMI has come up with something called talent triangle, right? So it says that the project manager should be good in this there are three legs. So the first leg is the technical project management, and that is primarily understanding the project management function. And this is what you are learning here. You are learning how a project should be handled better. You have some experience, and then you are planning to get certification, and then you would be strengthening this particular leg, which is understanding the project management function, understanding the project performance, project scope management, project documentation, processes, and so on. The second leg is the industry that you come from. So some of you are coming from the software development industry. Some of you might be coming from automotive, pharma, manufacturing, and so on. You need industry knowledge to be able to an effective project manager, right? You would have to estimate, you'll have to handle people, right? Your team members will not be giving you complete attention and respect unless you understand that industry properly, right? You can come from a different industry, but then you'll have to understand the strings, understand certain basic aspects of the industry in which you are working as a project manager, right? Then only you will command the respect. Then only you would be able to take decisions. You will be able to estimate, and you would be able to handle the client and the other vendors of that industry. So this second leg, which is shown as the violet color, strategic and business management, is also very, very important. So the first leg, which is the technical project management, which is understanding the project management function itself, that you are learning here right now. Second leg, which is the industry, and whatever industry experience that you are carrying currently, maybe 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, and so on, right? The third leg is understanding the leadership, right? Leadership in itself is a skill. Not, in fact, most people are not designed leaders. Most people are designed as a follower, right? Most people are not designed leaders. So in the certification exam, the exam does not prepare you to become a leader. The PMP certification exam is primarily to help you make this leg, the first leg, stronger. Leadership is another skill that you need to learn, right? How you can be a strong leader. How can you be a leader who can inspire the team members, who can motivate the team members, who is able to take effective decisions, and so on, right? So leadership is another important leg, third leg, that you have to learn, right? So these three legs are super important in being an effective project manager. We all understand that managing and leading, these two are different skills, right? Some of you might be MBAs, and there you might have learned the skills in managing people, right? Leadership could be a very different skill, right? Some managers become leaders, or some managers might be inborn leaders, but leadership in itself is a different skill, and that has to be learned, right? And that is really required in being an effective project manager. I will not spend much time here. This itself is, an area to be debated and discussed for a length of time. So, guys, let's discuss another concept, a very important concept in project management is how do you manage a team? And we all understand very well that when you are managing teams, there would be some conflicts, right? It is not possible to manage a team of even 5, 7 people without conflicts, right? Even in families, you would have noticed, right? Some conflicts would always be there wherever people are there. But then question is, are all conflicts bad? The answer is no. Conflicts are not bad. And the positive side of the conflict is, you have diverse opinion, disparate opinions you have, right? Conflicts give rise to many productive ideas. Conflicts give rise to people trying to be their best, people trying to be doing better than what all they can be, right? Conflicts also bring a sense of competition, a sense of urgency, sense of progress, and so on. But then on the flip side, you would notice that conflicts also create a degenerative environment, an unproductive environment, where people or the team members, they invest a lot of their unproductive time. A lot of unproductive energy is sucked in these conflicts, right? Generally, you would notice conflicts also create a lot of ego issues, right? People are not fighting for an outcome; they are fighting to be right. Each of them is not willing to lose and not willing to accept to lose, right? And that is when it becomes degenerative, unproductive, right? And at the highest level, it can even stall your project, right? So a lot of times it is expected project managers to be good in managing conflicts, right? By virtue of your role, many of your team members would expect you to resolve conflicts. Your clients would expect you that you should be able to resolve conflicts. Now, conflict management again is a skill, right? It's a people management skill, and that has to be learned over a period of time. But all that we can learn here is a certain proven techniques which have been proven to be effective in managing conflicts, right? Just by learning these conflicts, you may not become a better manager, but by learning these techniques and by practicing them over a period of time, you can become a better manager, better project manager. So let's invest a few minutes of time to learn what are these techniques and how, with the careful handling and with practice, you can become better and better in being a good project manager. So let's say there are two team members A and B, and they are having some friction on certain aspects, and they have come to you, right? And they expect you to resolve the conflict. So you have certain ways in which you can resolve the conflict. So one proven and effective way is forcing. Forcing is when you kind of force your decision on your team members. Okay, you just like how you shout sometimes on children, listen to me what I'm talking. This is not the time to talk, right? Right? Go back to your places. So with that kind of language and tonality, you can shut up both the team members so that they can go back and then concentrate on what they should be doing, not that getting involved in a conflict. So forcing is one effective way of resolving a conflict, but this will work only in certain environment. It will not work in all people environment. It will work in an environment where you don't expect people to argue with you. Maybe in physically intensive, maybe like a construction work environment where some of your team members would be more of a doing physically intensive labor work. You don't expect them to argue with you. You expect them to quietly listen to you and just follow your instructions, right? Maybe in ship manufacturing or house construction or manufacturing, those kind of environments, they would be people can listen to you and just quietly follow you. So, right? It may not work in an environment which is more consultative or, or let's say a software development kind of industry where most of your team members are as qualified as you are. They might be junior to you, but they are quite qualified, and it's a knowledge-based work environment. So in the knowledge worker environment, this forcing will not work, right? So let's move on to another technique. Second technique that we would like to speak about is withdrawing or avoiding. Many times, as I mentioned, you would notice that people are involved in the ego tussle, right? Each of them is wanting to be right and not willing to lose, right? Even sometimes they know that they are talking meaningless. Still, they are wanting to be right because of connected ego and respect and all of that. And that is the time when, as a project manager, you might choose to withdraw. You might choose to avoid to be a part of the conflict. This is one effective way of handling a conflict, right? You can say something like that. I'm busy right now. Let's talk about it on Monday morning. Let's talk about it in the evening, right? We have something more important at this time. So you are kind of pushing it in terms of time, right? You would notice that 99 out of 100 conflicts will get resolved with time, because you know for sure that there is no substance in the conflict. They're just each of them wanting to be right, right? So this is one effective technique that works practically. Another technique is smoothing or accommodating. This technique basically emphasizes the agreement part of the conflict. Whenever there is a conflict, let's say there are 5 points on which they are having an argument. Within the argument, you would notice that the team members might be agreeing on something and disagreeing on something, right? So, as an effective, evaluator and resolver and a manager, you might highlight what is that they are agreeing upon, and low light what they are not agreeing upon. This way, you will smoothen the entire conflict, and you will try to remove the rough edges in the conflict. This is also very effective. Collaboration, where you can take consensus from the different team members. You can ask how many of you guys support the team member A, and how many of you support team member B, and then accordingly you can give your verdict or your decision. In compromising, you would create a joint solution. You can take one point from team member A, another from team member B, and you can carefully and diplomatically craft the solution in such a way so that both the team members get the sense of being heard, get the sense of being accepted, and both of them are happy that part of what they're talking has been heard and been listened, right? So that's called compromising. Compromising is very common in our political environment because this involves certain level of diplomacy to be able to craft a joint solution. And the best solution is confrontation. Confrontation is where you ask each of the team member to take some time, do more research, and collect some more points for validation for their argument. Each of the team member might take another 2 or 3 days, get some more facts, figures, and to substantiate and validate their argument, right? And this way, whichever team member has stronger points, that team member wins. The confrontation or the problem solving way of a resolution is supposed to be the best way of resolving a conflict, because even if one team member wins, the other team member is convinced of the stronger validation of the other team member, right? If A wins, B is not feeling bad because B is for sure understands that A has a stronger argument, right? So this is called a win-win situation, and this does not create any kind of bad feeling, and creates an overall positive, productive work environment, right? So if you want to see some of the examples of different techniques of argument that we have spoken about, look at forcing. Do it my way. Listen to what I'm talking, right? Withdrawal. Withdrawal is like avoiding. We will deal with this issue next week. We'll talk about it on Monday. We'll talk about it later. Something like that, right? Confrontation, right? Sandy, you say that we should include purchase of new computers. Amanda, you say that we can use the existing one. I suggest we should do the certain test, right? And based on the result of the test, we would decide what we would go through. So this is more of a confrontation of problem solving. So you are subjecting your decision based on the outcome of a certain test, right? And this makes the whole thing more scientific and more acceptable based on a stronger argumentation. So guys, this was a brief about the entire project management framework. I would take more questions if anybody has. I can see one hand by Mahesh. Mahesh, please go ahead.
Hi Ashok. Ashok,
Yeah. Mahesh, switch on
regarding
your
this,
video. Yeah, go ahead, Mahesh.
Ashok, here,
Yeah.
my question is related to this conflict management.
Okay. Okay.
So for this particular slide, so you're like either it is a forcing or collaborative or withdrawal or smoothing. So in that, compromising is the best practice. That is what you are suggesting.
Not that that's what I'm suggesting. What I suggested, these are different techniques available to you, right? And depending on what works where, and depending on the personalities of the people involved, you would choose the right one. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
mostly, but
Confrontation is the best technique, but the pitfall is it needs a lot of time. And in
okay,
most cases, you would notice you don't have time to decide. You have to take a quick decision and move forward. Because when there is a fire, when there's a conflict and it's on fire, right, you have to quickly decide. And sometimes
right,
you would notice the withdrawing also doesn't work. So you'll have to choose a combination of these and take a decision and make things move forward.
right. But the conflict arises when there is no, what is that, a clear-cut way of approach or whatever the solution is not available. So
Yeah,
during that time, it is like a, what is that, kind of, what is that? The first, just a kind of proof of concept only, not the real-time solution. So in that case, there we can't like what is that, decide like A is giving correct or B is saying the right approach. So it's like a win-win condition is not
yeah,
possible.
correct.
And in that scenario, especially because most of the problems comes like this only because we never encountered but the first time. So during these scenarios, how can we make sure that A is saying wrong or B is saying correct or both are saying right, but not about the timeline or something? Um, so within that, what is that given timeline and not what is that deviating from the cost perspective and not affecting others'
Right, right.
dependency. So how can we go ahead? Because it looks in
Mahesh,
these kind of scenarios we face very frequently in our software development
yeah, yeah.
industry, especially when we are working in a complete product, because a lot of other
Mahesh,
tracks also will be
let's keep the
depending on
question
our.
short. Let's
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
the question short. I
sure.
got what you're saying. I completely got what you're saying. That it may not be feasible always to keep everyone happy and still take a decision, right? Situations are like that. So
Right.
the answer to that question is that your ability to choose one of these techniques would depend on your own personality of the people who are involved, and the situation, right?
Okay.
There is no standard answer to this question.
Right.
There is no standard solution that will work everywhere. Whether you want to withdraw from being a part of the conflict, or whether you want to collaborate or
Right.
choose compromising technique, completely left to you. Depending
Okay.
on the
That
best of your
means
abilities, you would choose.
yeah, it's like based on what
Yes.
can be the best or good. You
Correct.
have to estimate. That is what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Thank you, Ashok.
Thanks. Thanks, Mahesh.
Thank you.
I can see one more hand, Dheeraj. You want to go ahead?
Yes, thank you so much. Good afternoon. I have two, three questions, very basic questions.
Yeah.
One is how much this PMP certification beneficial after 20 years of experience?
Nice question. So, PMP certification would be useful at all the stages in your professional career, right? I mean, after 20 years, you can choose to become a VP and senior VP at that level. Still, you can take leadership positions, right? You can become a chapter head. This provides a leadership opportunity to you. You can establish yourself as a leader and aspire to become more and more senior industry. You can become a CXO and so on.
Okay, so people take exam after even 20 years of experience, right? That's what
Many,
I.
many. There are many.
Okay.
I have
My
seen people.
second, sorry.
I have
Yeah.
seen people from the age group of 21 to 71 taking
Oh,
this
I see.
certification exam. Yes, I have. I mean, there was an older gentleman,
Mhm.
71 years old, from construction industry. He said,
I
"This is the
see.
third time I'm planning to
Mhm.
take PMP certification."
Okay, that's nice to know.
Yeah.
My second question is how difficult is this PMP exam compared to, for example, CCNA or CAT, or I mean, just in general, when we prepare for an exam, what is the percentage of, I mean, people who are easily able to pass with fair good of preparation?
Yeah, thanks. First of all, asking this question because I am sure this question is there with many of you. So first of all, it's a rigorous exam, right? It's not a cakewalk. That
Hmm.
doesn't mean it's very difficult.
Okay.
What it all means, it requires a certain level of rigor, and it's
Hmm.
practical, it's a doable, it's meaningful, it's not humongously difficult.
Okay.
In the sense of if I want to project numbers,
Hmm.
see, one third of the people who appear, they are able
Hmm.
to clear this exam. Slightly less
I
than
see.
one third, 25 to
Hmm.
30%.
Okay.
One third people, they just go and take a chance.
Okay.
They think that they have worked in the industry for 10 years, 12 years, and they should
Hmm.
be able to crack. And generally they don't,
Okay.
right?
I see.
Another one third, they go and take this exam half-hearted.
I
They
see.
they did not get enough time to prepare. They were
Hmm.
traveling. They were busy with their personal life. They were busy with their work for whatever reason,
Hmm.
right? So you might have all the valid reasons, but the exam would need its own rigor to be able
Hmm.
to, so that you are ready before the exam, right?
Okay.
I have seen people with about 6 to 8 weeks of preparation. If
Hmm.
you have more than 5 years of experience,
Hmm.
typically 8 weeks of preparation should be good enough to you to be able to clear the exam.
Oh, that's nice. That's good
Very practical.
information.
I have taken this training with, let's say, a group of 20 people, and I have
Hmm.
found 18 of them have cleared. And when
Okay.
I spoke to the other two guys, they said, we knew that we will not clear.
Oh, I see.
And because of whatever, I had a baby in my home, so I was
Hmm.
busy with my social and other stuff. And
Hmm.
the other guy said I was traveling abroad, I didn't get really the time, so I
Okay.
couldn't, right? So exam is, as I mentioned, it's doable, it's practical, but at the same time it's not a cakewalk. and
Hmm.
and this exam is designed in such a way, and it's carrying a lot of reputation globally, right?
I see.
PMI wants to make sure that they don't compromise with the quality of the people who are able to clear the exam, right?
Okay.
They want to make sure that people have sufficient certain level of knowledge they have acquired to be able to call themselves as certified project managers. The questions are not theoretical in nature. Questions
Hmm.
are quite practical. They
Hmm.
are designed in such a way so that you would be able to answer only if you have worked in the industry. Only if you have made your hands dirty, you know what it means when you are not able to meet the schedule, when you are not able to handle the client, and so on. Only when you have some practical work experience in
Hmm.
some aspect of project management, you would be able to handle those questions.
Okay. My third question, last question is, do we need to refer PMBOK 6 and 7 both? And is this available in hard copy?
You need to refer both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, they are available in hard copy. Yes,
Okay. They are available in market, is it?
they are available. Version 7 you will get free of cost once
Hmm.
you schedule for the exam as
They
a
will
part
send
of
a
your.
hard copy to home?
I think they sell the soft copy, but it is licensed to your name. Your name appears in every page of the
I
book.
see.
Yeah.
I see.
Once you
Okay.
make the payment, they would
Hmm.
make sure that you get a soft copy.
Okay. But we have to refer both 6 and 7, right?
Yeah, certain places you have to refer 6 as well. Yes.
Okay. I see.
And
Thank you so much.
all of that would be covered in the 4 days of training program.
Hmm.
To what extent you should prepare, how should you prepare, what you need to go through, and what you don't have to refer, what you don't
Okay.
have to go through. because your objective is to clear the exam. Your objective is not to become a PhD in project management, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really helpful.
Thanks. Guys, we have another 3 minutes. We can take one more question if anybody has.
Yeah, John here. I just raised my hand.
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to know this certification is specific to any industry. Like if I'm from a software industry, so if I'm registering that, the questions will be relating to or based on the practice. Like I'm in a software industry, or it will be generally like it will be accommodating all the industries type of questions and how general it is or how specific it's relating to an industry.
Yeah, it is not specific to the industry. The exam is common for everyone. People from pharma or automotive or manufacturing or shipbuilding or software development or construction, they take the same exam. Yeah, so it is not specific to an industry.
So the certification that we are getting is also generic. If
Yes.
even if I am in software industry, I can work or I can mention that I am a PMP and I can work in any other industry if I have adequate knowledge over there in industry.
Answer
right?
is yes. Yes, John. That
Okay.
is true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we are close to 1 o'clock. Anudeep, should we end the webinar?
Ashok, I mean, if you have something else to, talk about, then I think we can go ahead.
Yeah. So, guys, we have spoken about, I gave you some glimpse of the project management, and the next logical step is to go ahead for the certification training. If you are planning to, get certified in the coming few months, and you would take typically a 3 to 4 months of time. And generally, you would, if your training is getting sponsored by your organization, then you are lucky. But otherwise, you can take this training and get yourself certified. Okay, I can take one more question.
One more.
Yeah, Parimal,
Actually,
go
just
ahead.
consider. Sorry, this is John. I just
Yes.
please consider me as an additional question from my side. So, do we have any supporting documents that will be better for this exams, so that we can go through that? Are you mentioning something like it will be this topic will be better, or this area or this training document will help you more? Is anything that you can share or something like that?
John, all of these will be declared in the certification training program in detail. Yeah. So
Okay.
do not worry too much at this stage. In the 4 days of training program, all of these would be discussed.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. One last question by Parimal. Parimal Vishwanathan.
Yeah, without any project experience, how I can get into project management?
Yeah. So Parimal, you may not have experience in project management, but you might have experience in as a team member in a project, right?
Yes.
For example, in a software development project, you may not be a project manager, but you might be a developer. You might be a team leader. You might be an architect. So that experience is also required, right? And slowly you can become a project manager. That's completely okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Imtiaz, you have any question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like during this part of the training which is being offered, would be there any kind of application or kind of mock test kind of things based on the application, which is actually carried out in the during PMI exams? Are there any such kind of application also available, or how it is scheduled basically? Would be kind of only classroom training kind of thing, or what?
Yeah. So the 4 days of training program, we would discuss all the important concepts, and we would do a lot of case studies where the practical project issues would be discussed, where the teams would interact with each other, and we will do a lot of questions. which and the kind of questions which come in the exam, right? Almost 200 to 300 questions we will go through this 4 days of training, right? So don't worry on that part. We would discuss, at length the questions and the answers, and the training program would actually equip you for getting ready for the exam.
Okay,
I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So great, guys. Should we close the webinar?
I think Ashok, one more question, I think from
Okay, yeah. Trapti, please go ahead.
Hi Ashok.
Hi.
I'm just wanted to know like what are the fees for this certification? If this training we are taking, is there any additional cost for that, or just for the exam? What is the structure? If you could just guide us on that.
Yeah. So once you complete your training, you can fill up an application for the exam. Your application will get validated and reviewed by PMI. That takes about 3 to 4 days. And once that is validated, you schedule for the exam. You go to their website, you can see the exam dates and time and the location. You can choose your center. You can schedule for the exam. When you are scheduling for the exam, you make the payment, and which is about 550 US dollars. So roughly about 50,000 rupees, right? You make the payment, and that is how you schedule for the exam. And then on the designated day, let's say you have scheduled for the exam on 15th of January. You can go and take the exam, and in the end of the exam, you get your result, whether you have been able to pass the exam or not. Your actual physical paper certificate comes after about another 2 to 3 weeks from PMI US. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Okay, Gopal, if you have any question?
Yeah, is there a validity for this exam?
This exam is valid for the lifetime, but there is a process called certification renew. Every 3 years, you have to renew the certificate by paying a small token fee to PMI, which is about $60 to $70. Right? Every block of 3 years, you have to pay that fee and get yourself renewed as a a certified project manager. The idea is PMI does not want that once you clear the exam and then you forget. They want that you should remain current and updated with the project management concepts. And they want to make sure that you are maintaining your learning and your experience in this relevant area.
Is there an exam for renewal?
No, there is no exam.
Okay, yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so looks like all of you are excited and ready to take the exam. So guys, thanks a lot for listening and being committed to your career and being a committed project manager. On behalf of Stalwart Learning, I thank you all and wish you all the best.
Thank you everyone
Yeah,
for your time.
thanks
And
everyone.
also there is one small feedback link which is placed in the chat. I would request you all to spend a couple of minutes to fill up the form. That would be really great.
Thank you, Ashok.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok. Thank you so much for this insightful webinar. This was really helpful.
Thanks.
Thank you.